It's not realistic to think you're gonna be head over heels after, one date or even 2 dates sometimes, especially given like whatever context you guys are coming from knowing each other.
Some of the things that are your type actually don't help you have the marriage that you want. There's people who are older, maybe they're in their 40s and 50s, and they look back on their life, and I've heard them say like, man, like there was actually really good options that I passed up because of immaturity or I was looking at the wrong things.
Yeah.
Please, like, don't send comments like, oh, attraction is really important. We know that. Yes. Like,
We're past that.
There needs to be a baseline attraction. But what's up, fam? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Tim. This is my beautiful wife, Pauline, and you're tuning in to another episode of the W Podcast where you get wisdom in the world with the
Wheelers.
Hey, so we have a great episode this week. Really, we're going to be unpacking green flags that you are ignoring in dating as a Christian. A lot of times we talk about red flags,
Yes.
but there's a lot of green flags, especially if you're single, that if you are someone who's like, there's nobody for me to date, there may be some people that you should date.
I was one of those people. I thought that, yes.
And there's green flags that you're overlooking that we are going to help you reconsider. And a lot of times your type is overrated. Like, if we're just being honest, when it comes to actually being in a happy, healthy marriage, like some of the things that are your type actually don't help you have the marriage that you want
At all.
And we want to help walk you through some of those things because a lot of times there's surface level assumptions about people that are binding them from the lasting love that they want. Ooh. Maybe you've said she's too nice, or his Instagram or TikTok page is boring, or we went out for coffee and I didn't feel the spark.
Ooh.
Look, we get it. Pauline just said she's been there. Like, those things, those feelings are real feelings, but they don't always mean that they should dictate our love life.
Yeah.
Because there's people who are older, maybe they're in their 40s and 50s, and they look back on their life, and I've heard them say like, man, like there was actually really good options that I passed up because of immaturity or I was looking at the wrong things.
Yeah.
We don't want that to be you.
At all. Please.
Why does this matter?
Because you guys want to get married. And God wants you to get married. A lot of you, most of you. And little things are a lot of times are in the way. You heard the term of like, oh, it was right under your nose, it was right in your backyard, and those little labels, these green flags that you may be misreading or overlooking can really be costing you godly, loving, fun, and holy relationships, and we don't want that for you. And if you are overlooking too many green flags, that means you're maybe paying too much attention to the red ones. And like, this is a classic kind of like 2025 rendition on the whole idea of like, oh, like good girls like bad boys, that like that kind of 80s rom-com type of like mindset. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay,
I'm wondering where you're going.
But I'm saying it's kind of like the same thing of like, if you are, sometimes red flags are not easy red flags. Like, oh, somebody who's abusive or somebody who's mean. A lot of times it can be like you want what you want, and what you want is not usually what you need. And that doesn't mean that the Lord is totally ignoring your prayers when you're asking for somebody who's 6'4" and 180 pounds and steel, abs and all that stuff. That doesn't mean that the Lord doesn't want those things for you. But sometimes it means that like God wants you to choose somebody over character more than how they look. And you may be thinking like, oh, well, God, my God wouldn't call me to settle. And you're right. But honestly, the things that you want are irrelevant when it comes to marriage.
And here's the truth. Pauline and I have been happily married for 7+ years. But if we're being honest, there was a lot of green flags in each other that we both would have missed
100%.
if it wasn't for the grace of God and other people saying, hey, y'all should look into each other. So we are living proof that you can be missing out on people who are right in the same community as you, and they have a lot of green flags, but you're overlooking them. The weird thing is, because when we both, before we started dating each other and before we came to know Christ, we dated and had separate relationships with people, and they both left us in heartbreak in our own ways, in confusion in our own ways. Now, when you're saved and you start dating, because maybe some of you have dated people in the church since you've been saved, or you just dated as a Christian, you may not be dealing with that extreme heartbreak of, oh, I gave my body to this person and they left me. Maybe you're not doing that, but maybe you're dating less because you maybe have too high of standards, or maybe you feel like there's no options around you. And we want to help you through that. So we're going to share some things that may not come natural to you in this video, but if you listen, it's going to help you avoid being single for longer than you have to be. One of the verses that we don't think about enough is 1 Samuel 16:7. It says, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. For context here, this is before King David was appointed king. This was actually when the Lord was trying to tell the prophet at the time. He was trying to tell the prophet, hey, I want to announce a new king. I need you to go to this specific town, this specific family, and I'll reveal who it is. So the prophet was going to the town, and this King David actually had a bunch of brothers. And King David was not the tallest or maybe even the best looking brother. So the prophet was like, oh, the oldest, that's who God has chosen. And God's like, no.
Right.
I look at the outward appearance.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Lord was like, no, I look at the inward appearance. You look at the outward. What does that tell us? Man does look at the outward appearance. Like, we do all look at the outward appearance. And please, like, don't send comments like, oh, attraction is really important. We know that. Yes. Like,
we're past that.
There needs to be a baseline attraction. But what we're saying is, even if they may not be a 10 out of 10 on your attraction scale, but they're a 10 out of 10 in character, and a 10 out of 10 in all the other green flags you need, like, honestly, you can take the 8. Because
truly,
like,
because no, but like, let's be real, because, and this was like a humbling thing for me that I had to kind of go through, because I felt away in the beginning, but like, oh, like Tim is still in college, and at the time the person that I was like was kind of counseling me and advising me, like, oh, you need to look at Tim, and I was like, oh, he's still in college. And she was like, didn't you just graduate 3 months ago? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, right. So it's not that far removed. It's not like you've been out of school for 10 years. You guys are not that far apart in, seasons of life. And that was very humbling for me. And I think the same thing happens even with attraction, where like people over here, and everybody is beautiful. Everybody is beautiful and a child of God, right? And beautiful in God's eyes. But sometimes you're overlooking people who are, you want somebody to have a quality that you don't have. And it's not a matter of like, oh, attraction is a quality, because obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Everyone's attracted to different people for different things and different reasons, and that's all great. But like, you want somebody who's 6'4", but baby girl, you're 5'2". Why do you need somebody who's 6'4"? A guy who's 5'8" would be a great size for you, like truly and honestly. And like, it would be great. Sure, obviously there are plenty of 5'2" women who are with 6'8" guys, and like, that, good for them. But that cannot be your standard. Like, he's too short for me, or he's short. He's like, short for who?
Right. That can't cause you to overlook somebody who would be amazing for you.
And obviously, I'm giving a very like trivial example because I'm not trying to like make anybody upset. But it's the same thing for attraction of like, okay, like, you want somebody who compliments you. So a lot of that starts with like kind of knowing where you're at and like what your baseline should be. And would everybody like to marry a celebrity? Absolutely. But guess what? That's not reality. And like, that's not best. Like, you cannot demand somebody who looks like a celebrity when you don't look like a celebrity.
Yeah. And a lot of people say they want a godly relationship. And in order for you to have a godly relationship, God needs to, one, be leading you in your own life, but he also needs to be leading you towards your person. So if we take that concept, maybe you've never thought about it like this, and it just came to me, but like, God tells us over and over that his ways are not our ways. Yeah. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So if you really want a godly relationship, maybe what you want isn't really what God wants for you. And I'm not saying that everything you want isn't from God, because there are some desires that the Lord will fulfill, but not every desire. So that's something that you just need to talk through the Lord with yourself. Like, after this podcast is over, like, talk to the Lord. Yeah. Ask him, like, are there things that I am evaluating, things that I want that you don't find as the most important for me. So that's something that could really be helpful, because a lot of times when you date in the world, you're looking for sparks and you're chasing attraction. But when you are trying to date godly, you're looking for substance more than sparks.
Right.
Still like sparks. We still got sparks, but you want substance. So if you only chase sparks, you'll miss the necessary character components in somebody that creates safety in a relationship. And if you only chase your type, you're going to miss out on who God could actually be saying is your person. The same way God corrected the prophet and said, hey, David's older brother is actually not who I want to be king. You're looking at the outward appearance. I'm looking at the heart, because he knew that King David was going to have the heart that would help him sustain a long kingship. The Lord's looking at you like, I know who you need to have a healthy marriage. And that guy or that girl is not going to help you. This person that you're overlooking actually will. And we have to trust the Lord that his ways are higher than our ways, and they're better than our ways. So what are 7 green flags? Let's get into it. What are 7 green flags that you could be overlooking in people?
Yeah, the first one is we're just too good of friends. So a lot of times people have, and we're not talking about, oh, my best friend, you know, in my phone every day type of stuff, but a lot of times it can be someone that you're just over familiar with.
Right. That's just the guy I served with at church.
That was our story.
That was your story.
That was my story. That was definitely my story. I was like, oh, it's just Tim.
Right, but I felt the same way. Like, it wasn't like I had a crush on you first. Like, God very much did it at the same time. Praise God. But
did what first?
He had separate people talking to us, like, oh, you should look at this person.
You didn't have a crush on me?
No, I didn't. But once we got together, then I was like, oh yeah, Pauline, great.
Yeah, really.
And I'm very, very happy with my decision. So friendship is the foundation of a healthy relationship. You've heard us talk about that a lot on this podcast. Yeah. So it's actually a good thing if you. A lot of times people are scared to date their friend because they don't want to lose that relationship that they have with that person. Yeah, I get that.
Are you more afraid to lose a relationship, or sure, but I also think that's some of y'all might not like. I think it's an immature mindset, because at the same time, like, do you want to be married more than you want to keep that friendship? Because even if somebody does come along, having certain friendships of the opposite sex, almost 9 times out of 10, your friendships of the opposite sex are going to like dwindle down when people start getting in relationships, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's very natural. So it's like, all right, you're gonna hold on to that friendship, and then it's kind of like,
is that worth you being single for 5 more years?
Right, exactly. And it's like,
when this person could be a great option.
Right, exactly.
Especially if people are telling you, like, why aren't y'all dating? Like,
you guys get along great. Like, you're so good together. What's the problem? And you may feel like it's boring because it's like over familiar. Like, oh, that's just Tim from church, or that's just so and so from down the street, or like, that's my aunt's, you know, neighbor kid who always mows her lawn. It's like, wow, he's a faithful guy. Like, he's very kind, very considerate. Those are things that you need to, you know, kind of reconsider. But a lot of times, again, we've been trained by media and culture to think like, oh, it has to be like hot sparks and steamy and all this stuff, and like somebody from far away and like this mystery. But a lot of times, comfort and familiarity, like, that's what you want in your marriage. Like, you want somebody you feel comfortable with, somebody you trust, somebody you rely on, somebody who's trustworthy. This kind of goes back to, like, you know, a lot of girls go through this like bad boy phase where they want somebody who's exciting, who's like rebellious and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you don't end up marrying that guy because he doesn't pay his bills, because he can't keep a job, because he's causing you all this stress. And then you end up, you know, the good guys who maybe aren't the flashiest or they're not the most stylish, like, they end up getting married because they're reliable and they take good care of the women that they're with, or the woman that he's with.
Number 2. This is a green flag you're overlooking, because you're saying they're okay, but they're just not my type.
Yeah.
A lot of times this could mean, well, she don't look like whoever you think is very attractive, so I'm not that interested. Or he doesn't look like whoever you think is so attractive. And it's like, all right, like, but they're not ugly and they're not unattractive. They may not check every box, like tall enough or stylish enough, or they don't have a beard yet.
Change, yeah.
Yeah, like, the truth is, attraction is more than physical. And a lot of times, safety and character are things that also really help you feel more attractive to a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, kind of I think a lot of this kind of comes in when you are comparing who you could be with. So sometimes I know guys struggle with this a little bit more than girls. Sometimes, well, I think we're both equal offenders. Because sometimes let's say if you go to church and there's like this one particular person of either, for the guys it's a girl that everybody thinks is pretty, or for the girls it's a guy that everyone thinks is really attractive, and you're thinking to yourself like, oh wow, like that's kind of like, the hot person of like my church or of my school or wherever you are, and like that's kind of like the standard. But then the other person on the side is like, oh yeah, they're really nice, but they don't look as good as person A. And it's like, well, right, like maybe there is somebody in your circle or in your community, in your world that is like quote unquote more like categorically attractive, but like that doesn't mean the other person is unattractive.
Right. And let's just be honest, in the modern world that we live in with social media, that makes it even harder.
It does.
Because taking it out that church context, like now on my phone, if I wanted to, I could see any woman that I want to see. I can see all different types. And that is a problem as well that you got to really work with the Lord on. Like, have you desensitized yourself so much by looking at so many different women, looking at so many different men, that your standards are just so high that people, like Pauline said, who are still very attractive and could be a great option for you, you can't even really see because you're looking at perfection, which honestly isn't even fake, really real, because it's either airbrushed or filtered edited, or nowadays AI. Like,
that's so real. Like thinking to yourself, oh, they're not that attractive, and it's like, but why? Like, what about them is unattractive? And like, I mean, I think most people, at least people that I've actually talked to in real life, are very reasonable when it comes to style, because like obviously you change your clothes every day, a lot of times, multiple times per day. So like the style thing can change. Anybody can, every woman has seen the transformation that can happen to a guy when he gets a beard and a haircut, and like, give him a few years and like add muscles, like he's completely different and such, all of a sudden he's so attractive. People talk about like the whole like Russell Wilson thing, how he looked before he got with Sierra and then like afterwards, and people change over time. And not to say you should marry somebody or date somebody hoping that they're going to look more attractive later, but you just have to really ask yourself, like, is that the hill I'm willing to die on? Like, if this is somebody whose character is impeccable and there's somebody who I can achieve the call of God in my life with, and that I can build a marriage with that's going to honor the Lord, like at the end of the day, do I care if he has a beard? Do I care if she has long straight hair? Like, why does that really, really matter?
Yeah. And like, you just have to also realize, and the Bible talks about this, Proverbs 31:30, like, charm is deceptive and beauty does not last. Like, everyone's going to get older. Everyone isn't going to look as good as they are right now. So just be careful. Again, please hear us. This is, we understand that this can be a hard point to really, it's very nuanced. Like, we're not saying marry somebody you're not attracted to.
Right.
But we are saying that just because you're not looking at them as a 10, that's a good reason why you should overlook them.
Right. I think it's more of like an invitation to really reevaluate what is your standard of attraction, and is it matching, is it healthy, and does it match the Lord's?
Yeah. All right. Number 3, their page is boring. So this one is very superficial to me.
It can be. It's not just about like how do they look, their face and their...
No, I'm not talking about that.
Oh, okay.
Just like, what if somebody isn't even on social media at all? Or like, honestly, I don't post that much on social media. Like, so what? Like, that doesn't... Somebody could post a lot on social media and be super broke, have no purpose on their life. Like, so that's why I'm saying it's superficial. It doesn't mean anything. But if this is a big deal for you, and you feel like, all right, their social media online presence, like, it's dry. Their life doesn't look like a life. And maybe this is where this comes in, is like, their life doesn't look like a life that's fun or engaging or something you would want to be a part of. The problem is you don't really know them. So like, because we do a lot of stuff that we don't post on social media. So like, just because somebody doesn't post on social media doesn't mean that they're not actually doing fun things.
I think the big thing with this point of like, because of the world that we live in, the culture we live in 2025, when you first hear of anybody, we're not even talking for like in the dating world, like there's like a new author out there of like a book I want to read, and I'm Googling them, like, oh, who's XYZ author? One of the first things that's going to come up is somebody's Instagram page. Like sometimes like you're going to people's Instagram before you're going to like their website. We're talking about from a business perspective. Like that is your storefront. That is your front page. 10 years ago, if you didn't have a website, you weren't alive as a business. Like you did not have, you were missing out on potential foot traffic. And that's the same thing now, but for Instagram. And like that's, and even for TikTok or just other social media platforms. So a lot of times the danger with that in dating is like you can write somebody off, and if somebody says like, oh, hey, I have a friend that like I think would get along with you great, and then you say, oh, okay, like, what do they look like? Oh, let me pull up their Instagram and show you what they look like, or show you a bit about them. And it's like, oh,
nerd.
Yeah,
loser.
like, what is this? Like, I can't really tell who they are or what they're about, like, from their page. And it's like, really? I remember one time a guy that we know and love started dating a girl, and I was like, oh, I want to see what she looks like. And he was like, all right, let me pull up a picture. And he took forever to find a picture on her Instagram because, like, she's not a big Instagram person. So, like, there's not, all of her photos were, like, her with a bunch of friends, and, like, there wasn't any, like, clear photos of her alone, which is fine. And, like, that's okay. I didn't ask for an Instagram photo. I just asked for a photo. But all that to say, like, that's our go-to in today's culture. And a lot of people, obviously, not everybody's a social media influencer. Not everybody has the time to curate this, beautiful feed and all that stuff. So, like, don't just dismiss somebody that you find or you're told about, or if you stumble upon their page, or you like, oh, like, let me look more about this person, and then you see like, oh, like, this isn't really anything. And also in the same breath, sometimes you can tell a lot about somebody from their social media page. But we also had these conversations too, where it's like, hey, if somebody has gone through a recent transformation, I'm talking about in the Lord, transformation in Christ, and their Instagram is not reflected in that, like, be gracious, have a conversation with them. A lot of people don't know social media etiquette is not a class that people learn, especially if you're newer in Christ. So, like, don't say, oh, this person automatically is not saved enough because of what they posted 5 years ago, or they haven't done this like massive cleansing or like refining of their Instagram page. Like, have a conversation first. Don't just, it's not their resume. Don't say like, oh, because of what they've posted, they're not on my level. It's not Bible verses, because it's not this, because it's not that, like, but whole time in real life, they're surrendering to the Lord. They're going to small group. They have mentors. They have godly friends. Like, all those things are not going to be reflected on social media.
Yeah. Number 4, they're a dry texter. So they text you back, but maybe sometimes it's short. Maybe there's not as many emojis that you would like. Maybe it's not as descriptive as you would like.
Yeah.
But don't allow this. Like, again, we don't realize how much we have to coach people to love us. Like, nobody can love you well unless you teach them. Like, everything we know about God, he told us through his word. Like, we have to tell people how to love us. So you could teach somebody like, hey, like, can you respond like this? Like, that would make me feel good. That can come later on.
Yeah.
What you want to see is clear, consistent communication that's showing that they are interested. Honestly, and I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing this, but you had a situation recently where someone you know and love very much, you felt like the texts were not giving you as much as you would have liked.
Right. And
then you saw them in person, and all of those concerns went away.
Right, which is the case for a lot of people, especially for me. A lot of my friends are moms and are busy, and they don't, like, their minds are all over the place. And, like, that's obviously can be true in a dating situation as well, where, like, a lot of people, they're in-person people. Like, they do better in person, and that's why you can never really write somebody off. So, like, I know of, because a lot of times texting is, like, the second or third kind of step in a talking phase kind of process before you start going on dates. Like, don't write people off because they're dry texters. Like, obviously I'm not saying if they're like entire communication is off and terrible, but if, like, if texting isn't really seem to be a way that you guys are connecting well, try talking on the phone, try FaceTiming. Like, there's other things that you can do, obviously, but sometimes texting, because it's so quick, like people are literally like, and everybody has different types of jobs and like, aren't able to text as long or as often as others. So just be really gracious with that. If this is your like first or second time talking to them, or being introduced to them, and you're kind of like, all right, like, show me the money, show me the magic, like, let's talk, let's have a conversation, like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, some people are not as comfortable or like don't have the time to sit and like, all right, how am I going to type this out? For me, I'm not a great texter in the sense of like, I would much rather send a memo because I'm so chatty, and it's just, I'm a verbal processor. So like writing stuff down is a whole other like really big task for me. So, and obviously that's not appropriate for a lot of people early on in like a talking phase. But yeah, just like don't immediately, like, I've heard so many stories of people like, oh yeah, like I tried talking to them, like we texted for a little bit and then it didn't go anywhere. And it's like, well, maybe try a different mode of communication if it's somebody who's being recommended to you and you have all these other kind of boxes checked.
Yeah. Number 5 of green flags you're overlooking in dating. You may say the chemistry wasn't there. Maybe you went out on a one date with them. Maybe you talked to them, had an interaction with them after church or something like that. And you just say the chemistry just wasn't there. Or maybe the Christianese is like, I just don't feel led
no sparks.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you just got to be careful with the chemistry piece, because I lost my train of thought. So give something, please go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, chemistry is like is a class. It's science. It's not really something that you should make decisions off of, because nobody has ever said like, oh yeah, we stayed together because of the chemistry. Like, our marriage has lasted 45 years because we just have such great chemistry.
Yeah. No, that's true. And it's so interesting because, chemistry, another thing you want to look for more than chemistry is like, do I have a peace from God that this is the person I should continue to be with? And don't get scared by that, because a lot of times when you hear people talk about like, oh, do you have a peace? You're thinking about marriage. I'm not even talking about that. Like, you went on one date. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't the best date, but do you have a peace? Do you feel good about maybe going on another date? Or is there something in you that's like, even if it was a great date, is there something in you that is telling you, man, this probably isn't the best path for me?
Yeah.
So that's something too that you want to like take it step by step. Like, the Lord orders our steps, the Bible says. So like, you don't have to put so much pressure on, I didn't feel the chemistry this one time, I should never talk to them again. It's like, one conversation is one conversation. The next conversation could be great. And like, so, just be mindful. If you're serious of like, hey, I've been single for a while, and like maybe it's me, like maybe I close or push people off too quickly. Like, this is an invitation for you to give people another chance.
Yeah, and there's like a general rule some people follow, like you should give it at least, if everything else is there, if this is like somebody who's been recommended and like kind of vetted, you should give it at least 1 to 3 dates, 2 to 3 dates before you say like, yeah, this isn't working for me, or it's not getting better, the momentum is not like rolling and growing. It's not realistic to think you're gonna be head over heels after 1 date or even 2 dates sometimes, especially given like whatever context you guys are coming from knowing each other. On this post on Instagram, one of you guys actually in the Fun and Holy Fam made a comment that was amazing, and if we can find it, we'll put it up. But she was saying how she went on a date with this guy, and she kind of felt like, this isn't really like giving me, like, I don't really feel sparks and stuff like that. But then like she prayed about it and she felt the Lord was like, this is right for you, like this is good. And she's like, yeah, I felt peace. But she realized that she had been kind of like she'd been groomed by culture to expect like these sparks and like fireworks and all this stuff, because that's what she'd seen on movies, and like, wow, after one kiss I'm just enthralled with you. And it's like, that's not real life. Like, does that happen to people? Maybe people, I don't know, like I can't, that's people's, if you say that happened, then sure, but it's not I think a lot of times we just be so curious, like, what would dating be like in the U.S. if we didn't have, media and culture, which is such a crazy question because obviously that will never happen. But it's just, you have to really ask yourself, like, where are my expectations coming from?
Yeah. Because our first date was fun, but we didn't leave that being like, yeah, this is definitely the person I'm going to be with.
I mean, I was sick. I had a cold
Yeah.
on our first date.
So, number 6. We don't have much in common. This is a green flag that you are overlooking is like, well, you don't feel like this person has a lot.
Yeah, they're not they're not like the male version of me or the female version of me, and that was me so much.
That's a green flag. Like you don't want somebody that's exactly like
right,
you.
exactly. But a lot of times we don't even realize like that's honestly what we're looking for. Like, oh, we don't have much in common. No, I like sports. You like sports. I work in tech, you work in tech. Like, oh, we just get each other. We understand each other. And it's like, do you want another version of you? Or do you want someone who's a partner and going to add on to what you are lacking and what you don't have?
Yeah. And practical example of how, like, me and Pauline are different. Like, we have some commonalities, but, like, for her, she, as she said, is a verbal processor. She likes to talk. I am an internal processor. I rather not talk that much compared to her. But she's helped me realize that there's times where you need to say more, and I've helped her realize there's times where you need to say less. And like we've complemented each other.
Yeah.
If we both were people who just want to talk all the time, it'd be a problem. Number 7, nobody really knows them. Now, we don't mean this in the sense that like they don't have any community.
Loners, yeah.
We mean this more of like they don't have 10,000 followers on Instagram, or they're not the most popular person at your church, whatever that may mean.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they're not a great fit. Maybe they're very loyal to family and friends, and maybe the people that do know them speak so highly of them. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's actually good for you. Maybe you're somebody who is super popular, who is super known. You actually need somebody who's going to calm yourself down.
Absolutely.
So that's something that can be beneficial. So here's some consequences and benefits. Like, if you ignore green flags in dating, you'll keep chasing sparks. You'll keep looking for chemistry. You'll keep searching for your perfect type. And that's just going to keep you stuck where you are.
So you'll be doing the same thing.
If you're truly sick of being in the state that you're in, like, try
a different approach.
Some of these things that we mentioned, like, maybe the Lord is bringing some people to mind who fit some of these green flags we said. Like, just have a conversation with them. We're not saying you need to go out on a date with them. We're not saying they're going to be your spouse. Like, just be open to having more intentional conversations with them, because when you embrace some of these green flags, that's when you'll start finding more peace. You'll start being able to date with more clarity, because you're not just looking for people who are very attractive but have bad character or just don't fit what you need for you to do all that God has called you to do. But you're starting to date people who are still attractive. You don't think they're ugly, but they have so many good qualities that are going to help you be the best version of yourself. You want to embrace that.
Yeah. We're basically just trying to help you guys rework your standards to help them match something that is obviously aligned with the Lord's heart, but more that it's based on depth and not something that's shallow, kind of calling you out of the media culture and realizing, like, help us to step back and realize, like, man, maybe my standards, even though I do love the Lord and I'm pursuing him, like, I've been influenced by culture a little bit more than I realized in a lot of sneaky ways. And it's really important for us to trust God's design. Like, he sees things that we don't see, and like his word says that, like, his ways are higher than our ways.
God knew you and I, speaking to that, like, we were overlooking each other.
Yeah,
we would have missed all of this. We wouldn't be able to help you right now,
right,
on YouTube. Like, we wouldn't have been able to do some of the things that God has called us to do, because we would have been overlooking each other because we weren't each other's type, quote unquote.
Or we were too familiar with each other.
I'm so glad I didn't marry my type.
Because your type is wrong most of the time.
Yeah. So God knows what's best. And please, you're not going to be able to do this on your own. Yeah. Like, let's just get that clear. And I think I said this in the beginning. Like, if you want a godly dating relationship, God has to be at the center of your life, but also your relationship journey. So please, like, take some time and really ask the Lord, like, Lord, are there areas where I'm shutting off options that you want to send me because of my own pride, because of my own ego, because of my own desires. And he'll talk to you.
Yeah, because you have to come to the kind of like place in the confidence of knowing like God is not withholding anything from you. So if that's true, because actually another question one of you guys asked was like, why is it so hard to find men, like true men of God? And it's like, well, where are you looking? Where are you overlooking? Maybe God has put someone in your life, but you're just really not able to see it. And I even prayed that for myself, obviously not in the area of dating anymore, but just thinking about, Lord, if you're not withholding any good friend, any good opportunity, any good job, any good, rest from us, it's change the way that I see. Like, what my idea of good and what your idea of good are totally different. Like, God's idea of good is sending his perfect son, Jesus, and allowing him to die on the cross. Like, that's what none of us would say that was good. That's a good idea. But God sees, the bigger picture more than we do. And we have to really start applying, our theology and what we know about the Lord and what we believe about him into like looking at those pictures and those stories and those examples that the Lord gives us in the Bible and say like, wow, this is what God's character is. Like, God doesn't do what we think he's going to do. And like one of my favorite songs by Brian and Katie Torwalt, which our 1-year-old sings with me, it's the cutest thing ever, is called Wouldn't It Be Like You? And the line of the song goes, wouldn't it be like you to be different than we thought, different than we want, but better? And obviously that's so true in just situations in our life. And maybe that's like, hopefully an encouragement for some of you listening and watching, where it's like, what if what you want in a spouse and in a partner, what if God has for you, it doesn't look like what you want. She doesn't look the way you thought she was going to look. He doesn't look the way you thought he was going to look. They don't have the job or the experience or the whatever you thought that they were going to have, but what God has for you is better. And you have to really trust that. Just always remember that verse, like, God doesn't withhold anything from you. God withholds no good thing from those who walk uprightly. And if that is true, then we have to reverse engineer our thinking to match and align with his word versus trying to tell God, this is what I want. Where's what I want? Where's what I want? He's like, you are asking for keys to a car that you do not know how to drive and isn't going to drive you straight to the river.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And just know this in closing, that God's best for you, God's person for you could look boring to you right now for whatever reason, but that same person could be the very person that would make you have an extraordinary marriage that you're thriving in, that you're loving, and that is going to set you up for the life that you always wanted. So we hope this episode has been helpful. We'll see y'all next week on the W Podcast.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video.
To get more Christian relationship advice, subscribe to our channel.
And make sure you check out our other videos as well.